Welcome to where the furniture isn't always the best, but them views, they are amazing.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 13th floor where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. I am your moderator, B. Jones, and they are particularly or especially amazing tonight. This is episode 150, coming to you live from the 13th floor. Art, what's happening, baby?
I am exhausted.
No, you're not, man. You ready to go.
Long day. Getting ready for the move to the ATL. So, body is worn, mentally drained, ready to just enjoy the back of my eyelids. Can't wait.
All packed up, ready to go.
Yes, sir.
Easy. BJ, what's happening, man?
All good, man. You see my surroundings? I'm at home. I'm good.
I'm trying to get like you. And Quarantine Fresh, what's happening, baby?
Another beautiful day in Zamunda. You know, I decided to camp out, get under this Aurora Borealis, get some of this green light in my soul. Just, chill out. We here, baby. We live.
I got you. Coach K, what's happening?
Good, man. Just here, doing what I do. 150. That's amazing. Some people out there didn't think we were going to make it to 50.
I know, man. Long journey, long road, but we here, man.
Yeah, man.
Looking back at all of the different episodes, all the crazy times. I was just reflecting on it a little while before the podcast because BJ brought it to my attention. Like, I forgot all about it with so many different things going on. But 150 episodes and where we are today. Say again?
So we talked about it last week.
We did, but, things happen. I tend to forget things. They slip my mind. But 150 episodes nonetheless.
Over 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years, baby.
Yeah, man. A lot has changed. A lot is gone. But I still feel like personally, when I look back at it, I think that I feel like we're really just scratching the surface when it comes to the impact that we want to have with the podcast. I think that we've come a long way, but I know that there's still a lot of things that we want to do, or at least I know what I want to do and accomplish. And, we right here ready to knock down those doors. That's just what it is, man. Just ready to get that work in.
Yeah, man.
You just think about the evolution over those 3 years, man. From the first one, sitting around, the first one, how did we even do that? Audio over the computer or we were on the phone? What was it? I don't even remember the first.
We had this elaborate setup, man, where everybody had to sync how they was going to record.
Yo, it was
That's
so
what it was.
like, you know what it was?
3,
Initially-
2, 1, record.
Initially, okay, we used, it was the meeting.
Zencaster?
No, it was, actually first we tried Google Hangouts. That wasn't working great. The recording was solid. And then we started doing, what's the other, GoToMeeting.
Meetings. Mm-hmm.
We were using GoToMeeting, and then what we would do though is everybody had to have their own recording device while we were recording the show live.
Yeah.
And everybody was recording their own audio on their own computer, sending it to me, and so I had everybody's own personal file, and then I was matching that
Trying to match them up.
master file. Like, oh my gosh, I used to do so much work for that audio, and it still was worse than it is now.
But we had whole setups, man. I remember I had the switchboard or not a switchboard. Is it a switchboard?
Mixer.
Mixing board.
Mixer. I
Yeah,
had the mixer.
Sometimes it's about looking more official than you actually are.
The mixer, the task cam. I went and got this nice. At least the microphone still made it. The microphone ain't going nowhere. That's a staple.
Yes.
This thing sounds amazing. And that first recording. How many times we recorded that podcast, Cheryl?
Man, listen, I don't even.
So we made it through that before we even went to. I was trying to think of it earlier. I was trying to find which episode we switched to video.
It was
I couldn't
around
find
30
like 20
something.
or 30 something.
Yeah, it was 30 something. And actually I could probably find out. Give me a second.
That was a revolution in itself.
Yeah, that was a revolution. And then it was a revolution when we stopped getting almost all the way through the podcast and then realizing nobody ever hit record.
Nobody record. Yep.
It was only the one time.
Nah,
It was a couple times. I think it was a couple times we did that though.
Yep.
I know we did that junk at Carol's house that one time, and it was like probably the best one of that first introductory podcast that we had ever recorded. And I was like, yeah, nice run through. You ready to do it for real this time?
Yep.
Shout out to all the cast that come and are taking vacations, taking their time away. Big Mike, Noah's in here.
Man, look here. Cat's been furloughed.
Right?
I want to say, Art being nice, talking about vacations.
Yeah, Cat's been laid off.
Cats have moved on to.
But I mean, when you go back and look at it though, those were all everybody brought something that has made us what we are now.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Right. So like there's nobody that you could say, oh man, we could have done without them, period.
Right.
Because everybody added something that's, is in the foundation of what we are now. Was also pretty interesting is the number of times that we've changed the name of the podcast. Right. Because at first, what was it?
Oh man.
Not The Office. What was it?
Oh wow. I don't remember the first name. I don't remember it.
It's man, because Fledgeology was the initial.
Right. Was the umbrella at first.
Right.
It was called the Fledgecast.
Fledgecast.
Episode 29 was the converting episode of just audio to actually having the video accompany the audio. But yeah, we started off with the Fledgecast because we were so on the Fledgeology tip.
Right.
And just knew that was the turning of everything. Yo, representing, we appreciate that. That's a throwback. That's a classic right there. That costs about 4 to 20 times as much as it did when we first dropped that joint.
Mm-hmm.
But
right,
that's when we were doing tours. We were going up to Atlantic City.
Oh man, y'all remember that conference, man?
Oh yeah.
Doing it
We
big.
drop a clip in there of that first, with like 30 seconds of how rough that first couple episodes were.
Hey, in all honesty, that is probably right now one of my most popular mixtapes. Is the actual big mix that I did.
Mixtape.
Yo,
I turn it
promise
every week, man.
I get at least 20 spins a week of that mixtape from all over the world. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, people always listen to that mix right there.
And it's funny, like, y'all remember how hard we would fight with him to be like, hey man, can you make a mix with no curse words, no nothing? And he'd be like, nah man, that's not what I do. I don't want to. Hilarious.
For the record, it still isn't really what I do.
It's not.
But that mix rise out, man. Because again, think about the purpose. What we were doing, we were branding the sessions that we were doing and using the DJ as the backdrop to set up the conference, to stand out at the conference, and that was pretty much almost like an audition tape, even though on the back end other things happened as far as not being able to make that connection come all the way through. Mm-hmm. But that was the lady, when she heard it, she got like, who is this? What is this? Like, I remember that conversation back and forth. Like,
well, I'm sure
she was ready to go, but they already had somebody in the pipeline based on some relationships before. So
yeah, I remember it was politics and all that good stuff, but I remember also they were kind of like, yo, this was not what we expected to. When you said you were going to give us something to kind of hear what this dude sounds like, they're like, yo, we rocking this joint right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they wound up playing that joint at some point.
They played it at the party.
Right.
DJ was like, "What is? Oh yeah."
Yo, in fact, drop that.
Timeless.
Drop that in the thing in the comments when we drop that. So people who don't know gotta listen to see what that is, man. You gotta go back to Big Conference Mix.
Hey, don't be and yes, I will drop that. But man, I look at my SoundCloud. I literally have over 50 mixtapes.
Yep.
On my SoundCloud, and a very large portion, pretty much all of them barbershop ones, are clean mixes, just because 9 out of 10 times when I was in the barbershop, they were clean mixes. And so, I mean, I've definitely put in very close to my 10,000 hours.
Yeah, man, that's what's up. Remember, there goes something else. We were on heavy, 10,000 hours.
Yep.
We were on 10,000 hours, real heavy. Now it's just like, man, look here, man, get the most relevant hours.
Yes, just get some hours in and try to get something out. Put
Right.
something in and get something out. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, but think about all the stuff that springboarded off of that 10,000 hours of the podcast in general. We done gone from just fresh alone. We done gone from what? Crypto fresh. We got fresh ovations now. So many different things come off of that. You had
Hey,
Yo,
hold on, man.
that's-
Hold on, man.
I got issues first off. And I
Hold on, man. He missed the most important one. The fresh jam of the week.
Oh,
hey,
Yeah.
that was
That
original.
job would get our podcast shut down every week.
Every week, man.
Every week they just blank out that. They started just blanking out
We
that
should
part.
throw
of
one
it.
in this week just for old time's sake. Like,
Bring it in. Let me see what I can do.
yeah,
Fresh
there
jam
it
of the
is.
week.
Fresh jam of the week. We had all of the different facets of what is now Mortar Consulting and Carol Cadillo LLC.
Yep.
Springboarded off of this thing. So I mean, the podcast has just been a catalyst for so many different things. And even you talk about those who not still on the podcast consistently with us now. J-Dace out there doing his thing, his own podcast has spring from it. Mike D is blossoming crazy over in Ohio.
Yeah.
With the cup and all of the different ancillary projects that have trickled off of this thing. So I mean, it's definitely served its purpose if you look back at it.
I was gonna say, thinking about the big conference and all that we put into that presentation, and we're like crackheads staying up, doing stuff, and I mean, like, we literally pretty much wrote it as finalized writing
Flying all over
what
the
we're
country.
doing, like walking into. But like, no, it wasn't finalized until we were like walking in to actually do it. Like, it was like, all right,
that hotel,
just let it go.
The hotel
I remember-
we stayed in that was not near the casinos, but it was far away.
Nothing that we expected.
Yeah.
It was a very cool and fun experience. But it's just crazy looking back. I remember all of the sound effects and everything for Carol's speech. I had to try to time in with the set. Like, it was a lot. We were doing a lot.
You talk about not being what expected. So that was my first time in Atlantic City. So, I'm thinking I'm going to get this whole boardwalk.
Me too, brother.
experience. I'm looking at casinos. I don't watch Boardwalk Empire. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just expecting a whole lot.
Okay.
And
Airport.
it was very
the
underwhelming.
hotel.
Everyone listening to this, we went to Atlantic City. Was it winter? We're not doing
No, it wasn't winter.
No, it
was
wasn't
it?
it wasn't summer. It
It
wasn't
was like May or
It was like perfect weather
It was
because
like
I mean,
April or May.
yeah,
It
we
was
had
like
like
August.
pants on, but like t-shirts. It wasn't
you know what? It was in August.
It
That
was
was the
because
beginning of
Yeah,
school.
yeah,
School, I had to leave. I had to come up like that
after-
weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Leave it late that Friday night or Thursday night, 1 or 2.
Yep.
Because one of the issues was whether or not because I had my son over the holiday or the summer or whatever,
Yep.
and I thought we was gonna have to bring him up there.
Right, yeah, it was definitely on the downturn of the summer Northeast.
Listen, man, when we got there and I saw that the hood was on waterfront, I was like, okay, I know what the deal is here.
Yeah, said this ain't my first rodeo.
Right.
We've all been to county.
And then remember we went to
The bar,
dinner.
yeah, the
Whatever
restaurant.
it was.
Then we
Yeah.
walked in. It was one place we walked in and walked right back out of, right? Or did we end up staying there?
No,
Me and K went.
we
with
sat
the-
down.
Confederate flag dude.
Yep, we sat down, and then like the record needle had scratched, and then next thing you know, they started playing
Oh,
some
yeah.
songs referencing niggers and something. We was like, okay, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're out.
We get
remember
the
that now.
message.
yeah.
Yo, that was crazy, man. It was like we were going on straight adrenaline for that time, but then got to the hotel, it crashed.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still like, that was such a surreal experience just because exactly we was all running on fumes and like trying to do so much. And I remember they were like just so amazed by everything, and we're realizing like, man, we really put a lot into this that we could have got some sleep, dog. We could have got some sleep.
Right. Like I remember just walking around looking at other people's like setups, like, what in the world is that? Like for real? Like, are you?
Mhm.
Is this civics class? What is this?
And these cats are the ones who I've been doing this for 20 years. I finally finalized my presentation to something that I really think is going to, really resonate. And you looking like, man, you got a banner and a table. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
What is this?
Right. And then just man, there was a lot, man. There was a lot. Y'all are right. There was a lot. Like I just threw away some receipts the other day. from when we bought all that stuff, like the gifts to give away and the bags and everything.
Oh
And
yeah, from the exercises and all that.
oh, shoot, as a matter of fact, I took them off of here. But I still had the pencils that we gave people to
I still have my
Wow.
USB
The
card.
golf pencil thing?
USB card.
USB card. I still have in my bag.
dude.
Yeah, that USB card, they weren't ready for that one.
I have a,
The
I
business-
have
That was over all of their heads. They were like,
And it
I
was
still have
so
what?
high tech.
oh, look at that. That's dope.
Yeah, it's not there.
quality. It's so nice it's gone.
Look at that. Look at that visual
It's
effect.
magic. Doo-doo-doo.
Yeah, man, I still have a gang of these things, man. And I'm
Do
just
you?
like, that's crazy. Like, they don't even have USB ports anymore.
Right?
Hey, go ahead and send them down here, even though they all got like enough for like you could put like 4 pictures on there.
But the website loaded as soon as you put it into the thing.
Hey, the technology was there. We had
I
that thing
searched-
hidden.
I
It was
searched
we
that
were so
one. I
ahead of
was
our time.
Willing and dealing to make that one happen, man. I'm like, okay, we got to do something off the cuff. We got to do something different than everybody else.
Yeah.
Yep.
USB drive, not just that, not with just logo on it. You put it in, go straight to the
Takes
website,
to the
baby.
We
They
just
weren't
didn't
ready for it.
anticipate the lack of technology that the participants would be understanding of.
And it was blacks in government. Like, how can y'all not be up with technology, man?
because the keyword was
It was the
government.
government.
I forgot.
Exactly. When you throw government in, you already know what time it is. They trying to keep you there as long as possible, and people who in there, they staying as long as possible, and only learning the bare minimum of what they have to, and hoping they can. Man, I've been pushing this same red button for 37 years, man. Get my pension in another 15, and I'm gonna be sitting back on the fat of the land after that, Jack.
Listen, that was so the age range at that time for us was what, early 30s
Yeah.
to late 30s, mid and late 30s.
For us, yeah.
And these folks are still looking at us like, oh, we're so glad to have young people here. And
Exactly.
you guys need to go over to the young people's thing and blah, blah, blah. We
Please
was
make
sitting
sure
there
to
looking
sign up for every
They're like, can you guys come back next year?
Of course.
Almost
Little
did.
did they know.
We almost did.
We almost
We,
did.
almost, we were in the plans, and then we
We pulled the plug.
weighed the outcome, and it wasn't worth the investment.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was when we lost our first member.
Yeah.
Big facts.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. But I mean, it's funny, man. Let's go back to talking about growth, just to see how we've never stopped just trying to advance the podcast and make it better. I remember times where like Brett was just like, man, I don't know if I want to be the host. Times where we're like, now look at it. In our last 50 episodes, like from week to week, majority of those weeks, all of us haven't been on here, but it's just like people can just, oh, okay, cool. You need me to host? I got it. Cool. No problem. And we just keep it running. So just to look at that growth and for us to just still sit here and say, man, we haven't even really made the impact we want to make yet, but we 150 episodes in.
But that's the maturity factor I think came in because, again, I think one of the things that we were doing were pigeonholing people in places as this is your role and carry out your role. And then we started owning the podcast and using it as a true platform and just instead of just a weekly podcast, if that makes sense. It was a platform to get things out because I think every one of us had at least 2, maybe 3 points of time, had a specific topic they led or they wanted to see on there and took ownership of it. And that's when I think the true flavors came out to let everybody know whether the other people knew the planning behind it or not. It really didn't matter. But again, when everybody took ownership of their episode or their guest or getting the content together, that's when you really start seeing people in their element. And then if you really track it, if you think about it, that's when their personal growth is happening, right? It all aligned to their personal growth, whether it was their personal business, whether it was family, whether it was whatever else going on, leadership role, changing in work, whatever. It was always a catalyst for it, and it always paralleled growth. That's why I think we're nowhere near the surface of where we're going to get, the depth of where we're going to get, of where this podcast is going to go. because we're still on that path of trying to find exactly what that depth is for each individual person. So I'm excited about it, man.
I mean, look, I'll be most happy for BJ. Like, if you look at the first couple podcasts and what used to go on with BJ, and that cat would just like, especially once we got video so people could see that man pretty much the whole time just. And now this man will take over a whole podcast and be breaking stuff down. But that's just like you said, all of us, like the ability for us to have full conversations, not be stuttering, not adding extra words, and feeling that we are going into outer space. And dag my hands. I knew I was gonna do it. But you know, that growth and the ability that we can just jump on all right, we're gonna shoot it tonight, have a loose understanding of what the topic is, and still be able to have an amazing conversation that, you know, resonates with our listeners and is able to provide, you know, valuable information and things for them that's like, you know, hey, that's something to kind of chew on and think about.
And that's really what it is, man. That's what that's the pride of the podcast, man. These views, 5 views right now consistently, but you know, these views from the black male, you know, we have a lot to say. A lot goes on in our heads, and it's not just you know, what's hot in the news, you know, today. It's real stuff that's happening within our families, our communities, our jobs, you know, even things that don't necessarily hit direct with us, but that we can relate to. You know, it's great to be one of the few outlets where it's a safe space, it's an open space, and we just can come kick it if we want to. You know, like even tonight, it's 1:50, but there's nothing really on tap, but we just here kicking it, just discussing and conversing, whatever it is, and putting that out there to the world so people can really get into the mind of the black male.
But there are nuggets like every single week. Like, there's weeks where, look, we did the episode and we think it's terrible, right? We put it out anyway, and people like, oh my gosh, you know, you guys were dropping some stuff on that episode, and we just sitting there like, oh, okay.
Happened to me last week. No BS. And this was a listener that I didn't even think really still listening. And, you know, because our listeners are so loyal, they like to tell us personally and give us personal gratitude.
Yeah,
you know, like
nobody ever leave feedback though. That's a problem.
Ever. There's no barely likes, shares, none of that. They won't give it to nobody else unless it's like, hey, oh, you're in my car? Hey, listen to this. Yeah. Oh, well, what is that? Hush, just listen.
That's cool. We're going to be on the marketing and branding tip, you know what I'm saying, to get it out there, you know, for the listeners or whatever. But yeah, they just randomly text message, you know what I'm saying? Oh, 148. Wow, that was an amazing episode, you know what I'm saying? And just to still be getting those, you know, and getting that confirmation, validation, you know, recognition is, you know, it's necessary to keep pushing forward.
I think that's what has always kept us making sure we do go right, is getting those messages where we always assume it's us talking to each other and then realizing, oh, wait a minute, somebody actually is listening. There actually are people who are tuned in and getting what we hope we're putting out.
Yep. And I think at some point we decided, you know what, man, screw it. It ain't about the listens every week. It ain't about, you know, how many people tuned in. We're just gonna put it out there.
Yep.
And I think once we took that pressure
so much at first, it was all about the stats.
It was.
all about the stats.
I mean, there's been several
looking at
hard
the stats.
conversations we've had amongst each other, whereas it's like, dog, are we really doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what?
Yeah.
There's nothing. We're not seeing what would traditionally be found as, you know, quality metrics. You know, to say, okay, yeah, we make an impact, but you know, we do have those quality metrics, and then that human interaction, that human to human. What's the word I'm looking for?
So think about this, like think back.
Impact.
What were some of the guests that stood out to you guys?
Like in the last 50?
Yeah, well, any of them, but if you can, in the last 50, or I don't even remember all the episode numbers, so if you need names, we can look on those. What were some of the guests that stood out to you guys?
Angry Black Woman.
That was good. That was
Female,
good.
yeah, and that's actually somebody I'm gonna be reaching out to in the near future to get back on here. I was actually talking about that a couple of days ago. But angry
Hey,
black female.
y'all remember that conversation though, where I was just like, "Wait, hold on, she's not going to show her face?" Like, nah.
But look at how over time, I don't know if y'all still follow angry black female.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you see, she's like front and center now, right?
Right. Yep.
Right. So, and even just that little nudge on the podcast, it's like, yeah, you got a voice. You know what I'm saying? Let the people see who it is, match it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It takes time to develop that comfort in that understanding of just that you do got a voice, and that, oh snap, there's people listening. Because I think that's the thing about it, right? It's just as long as there's one other person outside of us, it's like, yo, we're doing what we're supposed to, whether it's a passion project or it's, we're on Radio 1. It's more about the fact that, wow, there actually is somebody outside of us who is, understanding and getting what we're talking about.
So 2 things. One, you can never forget Georgette.
I was about to say that.
I was about to say
Dang, I was about to
Georgette
go
might be the
there. I was
guest
like,
that
dog, that's
I
another
was
one we
not
got to
on
get back
that
on. We
call.
finna have a reunion tour coming soon. That's what we finna do.
I was gonna say Pat D's did a ill show too.
Yep.
He had a lot of
Pat
good
D.
energy.
Shoot, man, Aston
Oh yeah.
was on here. I still never got who won. Me and Ian won.
Yeah, y'all wrecked us. It was
Yeah. And look, Art just remembered now. He's like, oh yeah, come back and
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of I'm trying to just think of names the episodes. I'm going back in my head, rolling through, like, oh man, which one did it impact on me? I'm thinking.
Quinetta.
Cornetta was good, and then living on the left side of the menu. I think that.
Jamal.
Oh yeah, that was
That's where
a
I was
good
going.
one. Yeah,
That's exactly where I was going, because that helped
Left side of the
me.
menu.
That's most
Which one?
people's favorite. That's other people's favorite.
That helped
Left
me.
side of the menu.
go
Who was
to
that?
The first house. That was
Jamal, the realty.
Rome.
Oh, I missed that one too. Okay, I wasn't on that
and
one.
yeah, that was.
Yeah.
But when you can,
Thing that pushed me to get that first house for sure.
well, when like how simple it was, but how like impact, like it was just like the best little nugget, just the way that he broke it down, that it's just one of those things that just hits you and resonates with you, and like you'll always be thinking about.
And that was his first podcast. Like he had never been on a podcast before. And then what was really cool was when, I don't know, the next thing I went to I think it was, let me not make Art mad, but the next thing I went to with Eric Thomas and Associates, I remember CJ coming to me and be like, hey man, I heard your podcast, man. I didn't even know you guys had that, man. I like the way y'all do that, man. Where everybody, you got a bunch of guys on there. Everybody gets their time to shine. And then next thing you know, Jamal's on their podcast. And now they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 4 of them on there regularly. I don't listen to it regularly, but every once in a while I see an ad, and Jamal is a regular now.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting because that was one of the things we found amongst those early episodes.
Yep.
Because we were dropping ours on Wednesday, and they were dropping theirs on
Friday.
Friday,
Yeah.
and every week they were like aligned. Like,
It would almost be like the same topic somehow, some way. Yep.
and like you said, I listened to them semi-regularly back then, but not enough to be like, oh, okay, yeah, let me jump on that train. It was crazy.
Right.
That's just that confirmation that, yeah, you moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. But so I guess where do you guys think we go next? Right? Like what's the next 50? Because we done about 200 episodes.
Yeah, man.
To me, the next 50 is about execution in building a community, right? And being able to do things on a real level of execution, whether it's mutual investments, mutual just information passing, growth, whether mentally, physically, whatever, but really trying to build a community around improvement.
I also
Yep.
see with all the social things that are going on today, I'd be remiss if we didn't just a minute talk about all the social aspects of Ahmaud Arbery the last week. And again, I don't say that go in details right now, but how is that impacting? I've done a lot of reflecting over the last week with everything that's come out. But again, I love the fact that, when we talk during the week via text messages, via WhatsApp, whatever, that all those different things come out, and I'm not the only one thinking the way that I am. There's my brothers are going through this with me and in mental spot, and we can talk about these things. We have to use this platform to share what's going on in our minds. One of the things that killed me this weekend was that I couldn't talk to people about it, right? Because these are the things that.
Because you weren't on last week.
What happened?
I said you weren't on the cast last week.
No, I wasn't. But again,
Oh,
after that, like it really was. I didn't have a chance. I didn't have a safe place to express myself, right? And I say that literally. I didn't have a safe place because we all know that we express our opinions based on our interactions, based on our past history, based on how we observe the world and how we interact with the world around us. Majority of people can't understand or don't understand the way we think, the way we react, the things that happen in our work, our work environments, the thing that happen in our families, the thing that happen just race relations, period. They don't understand that. And it gives me a safe place to express those things. So I think we have to use the platform as to address those thoughts and let people know they're not alone, right? In thinking that. And I find comfort in the fact that amongst us five, we're all majority of the time on the same page or thinking down, and we can have that dialogue about it. So we got to continue that process.
it's funny you say that because I just finished reading or listening to the audiobook, Where Do We Go From Here? And after listening to it, that's Martin Luther King's, one of his audiobooks. And after listening to it, that's the space that it put me in because it's a great historical text. It takes you through the civil rights movement. It takes you through an action plan that's still relevant today, from A to Z, from politics to education to economics. And out of all of that, and then it goes through the violent versus nonviolent space. But it's like after listening to that, where do we as men fit into this, and how do we, really have that communal impact? And I think that the podcast, like you said, is one of those ways, especially just from the expression, and being being I keep losing my words tonight. Intentional, being intentional about the display or voicing the Black male's stance on some of these things, and then turning that into coupling that with action. That's something that I'm really going to be focused on going through the next 50, because I think that this can be a springboard for those things as well. And not that I want to make this, all Black everything, Black issues or whatnot, but it's important. You know what I'm saying? We have to highlight those things amongst every other topic that we bring on.
Well, I mean, I gotta say that people who have said they watched it and enjoyed it is because they enjoyed seeing things from our view.
Mm-hmm.
We love to see that process, and it's not just a negative view. It has both sides of it. So being able to see the whole aspect and understand things from our view makes our listeners appreciate that. So,
and again, I think that's just because of the safe place we have to share those views. And Brett, we said earlier, I still don't want people to understand when we say the views are amazing. Don't think about height. If you haven't got the underlying of that statement, is the views of the members.
Hold on, man. Hold on. I need you to break that whole statement down. Because it's not just the views are amazing. It's the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. And it's really just it's really a life slogan, because look, your situation isn't always going to be the best. The conditions aren't always going to be optimal for you to succeed, but you have to find a way. And your thought process and your approach is what makes it amazing.
Amen. There you go.
Reach.
I think there may still be some people out here that just think they haven't grasped it. They just like the slogan because it sounds good.
Well, there's some people that they like it because they think, oh, 5 black males, yeah, y'all furniture probably is raggedy. We probably. Okay.
We make do with what
Man.
we have. I'm sending them donations this way, baby. Shout out to Fresh with the slogan, man. Came through with that slogan, and it was all off the cuff. I think that was on like the second episode we recorded, maybe.
It's funny how something exactly that just pretty much just came diarrhea out my mouth because I was really just a talker back then. I was really just saying whatever, like a shock jock almost. And that it just came out, but it for it to resonate and still just like Kay say, it's in its simplicity is very complex, but it just is also poignant. Like it sticks and it means something that's cool.
13.
Yeah, hopefully get on a t-shirt one day.
Yeah. We're working on that. That's all that branding and marketing stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But real quick, I don't know. Did we get your reflection, Kay?
My reflection on what?
The next 50. You asked the question. I don't think you answered it.
I'll answer it in my closing.
There it is. Before we get to your closing and fresh ovation, I want to shout out all of our listeners that have been with us on this journey, this podcast, these 150 episodes. Alexa, Andretti, Taz, Angel, some of the mainstays that have been following us. I think she's always been
Andretti.
It's not. It says Alex
Dretta.
and Dretta. Yeah.
Andretta, yeah.
Yeah. 007.
Oh, Alexa, I like, what are we talking about? Okay, got you.
Yeah, I don't know who it is, but I know somebody on here knows who it is.
Fellow Kane, baby.
To Mario in New York City consistently throughout the process, even through sickness, listens to it weekly. So shout out to him.
Shout out to my mama.
I was about to say BJ's mom.
Yeah.
And Fresh as Pop.
Yo,
Hey,
I
one time.
she surprised me, man. Like not surprised me, but I know that she listened and she actually is sending in a podcast the link to other people and telling them they need to listen to it. So
Wow.
shout out to mama.
Nah, you said Taz Angel, so that's one of my sister-in-laws.
Mhm.
The sister-in-law listens to dang, what's her screen name? Anyway, Rennie, shout out to Rennie. Even though I don't know if she's still listening, but anyway. But we got a lot of people. Shout out to Chris.
Courtney Z,
Mhm.
Kendra, Keish. Who else we know? My man Twan.
Shout out to the 10 5-star ratings on iTunes. Yes, there are
Hey,
10
big facts,
10
big
5-star
facts.
ratings.
And we encourage all of y'all out there to go ahead and leave a rating on any form, anywhere. Leave a rating, do a like, couple shares.
Google
Look it up.
Play, Facebook,
Yeah, man.
SoundCloud, Vimeo, YouTube.
Let me shout some of these people out. So CS Zakowski, I don't know who that is.
That's
but
Courtney Z.
Okay. Mia.
Yeah.
Down in Jacksonville, YSifig 0999. Don't know who that is, but yep. Neil the King. Yeah, man.
Miss
Shout out to-
Unapologetic.
Yep.
All that, man. Very special, very special. Appreciate y'all. So Quarantine Fresh, man. We need your fresh ovation before I head to Carol. Let's close us out.
Let me clear my throat. See, that's what I'm talking about, yo. I'm the DJ, he's the speaker. Y'all don't forget that. However, as we get into this preservation, on this beautiful week, we've been in quarantine for almost 60 days now, I believe, will be the official count. 60 days, 2 months, it's been real. So in this time, I will care for myself as much as I care for others. I deserve good things. I choose peace. I'm courageous and I stand up for myself. I deserve to have joy in my life. I am honest and truthful with myself. Today, I am freely expressing myself. It is totally safe for me to express my own true feelings. I choose to stay true to myself no matter what. So in these times of quarantine, as you working on, um, just powering up. That's what you should be doing during this quarantine is powering up. It ain't always about learning a new skill, trait, anything else like that. But it is about, making sure that you are giving yourself the opportunity to be your best self, especially once you come out on the other side of whatever this is going to be. And we are to what our new normal is now. That is not the normal that we had before, but it is the normal that you're going to be used to. And that is what? Fresh ovation. Believe that.
There it is. There it is. BJ, I'm gonna come to you, man, because I remember you saying that you didn't have an opportunity to really speak on Ahmaud Arbery, and we spoke on it last week. But there have been some developments in this case since then. But I want to give you the opportunity, give you the floor, man, to get out what you need to get out. And if we got to run that conversation again, be happy to do so.
The real reflection really was looking at my sons the entire weekend as details was coming out, thinking about the world we live in, what I anticipate the world is going to be coming up as they get older and are more independent and are out and about in the world, without me being able to be around, protect them. And it's scary, right? But the main thing is, and I want to bring it up and pose it for a topic that we discuss in the coming weeks too, is that duality. And I tried to express it in a Facebook post of the weekend because I had to do something to get out my head. And it really was that my first thought when interacting with new people is I have to disarm them to make them think I'm not a threat until they get to know the real me. That's what I've been conditioned to do, right? I have to either figure out a way at work and in real life when I'm out and about shopping or whatever. And that just the thought, like, to actually be thinking about that thought process is burdensome. It's a heavy burden to carry, and people really just don't understand that. I tried to have a conversation with somebody else yesterday about it, and like when I walk out this house, I have to anticipate all the places I'm going, the people I may interact with, and from going on a bike ride and passing somebody on the street versus getting in the suit and driving in my car to go to a meeting at a boardroom or in a school district office or a schoolhouse. I have to anticipate every single thing and anticipate all possibilities of what may happen and if I'm going to make it back home that day. And that's a burden that like you can't understand, and I don't expect everybody to wear that burden, but at least I need people to understand where we come from when we talk about it. Because that what happened to him in the outcry from the community is not an isolated event. That's a daily fear that people will leave their house with and to see they may not come back with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And that weighed on me heavy the whole weekend, man. I was walking around here, I was doing stuff, but I was like in a fog. Like seriously. Like it played on my soul this weekend, like just looking at my kids and just thinking about, it always is that thought there, but after this incident and the media is saying stuff and more stuff coming out about the history of those guys and pretty much just being tracked and killed like he was being hunted. It was reality check.
Right. And it's very like burdensome is a very good word to use because it was bothering me too. And then even when I woke up, I think last Saturday morning, to the news alert that was saying that William Bryan, who's the individual who videoed it, may or might have had some level of involvement. It's only confirming some of these things that we already kind of know, right? And so when you vilified and hunted for less than reasons, and then you got sons to raise, you got kids to raise up in this mess. It's very disheartening. So hopefully, the justice system moves in the right direction to kind of give you some form of solace or feeling of retribution. But until there is real and true change, the mindset of us is really at risk.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's funny. Y'all remember when we used to do an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and 40-minute podcast? But it's
We
not
had that
that.
already?
What'd you say?
I said we had that already?
No, we're not. We're not.
Okay.
But the thing for me is, it's not that it became a burden, right? It's not that you didn't know that it was something that you carried every day. It was just every time something like this happens, it reminds you that you're carrying this with you every single day, that every day that you walk out your house is a gamble.
But you condition is conditioning, like I said. You're conditioned just to carry, and then we push these feelings down because we're told that we're made to believe outside of our own community that it doesn't really happen, or you're the exception. And like, and again, that's a whole nother conversation, episode for another time. But it just really,
and look, let's be truthful and honest. We've had this conversation.
we had it already, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's almost like we could set our clock to it. Every
3 months?
every 3 months or so, this is gonna be a conversation on the podcast, right? And that's the part that's sad.
Yeah.
Is that it happens so often. There's so many people we could talk about that we've already had this type of dialogue around.
Right.
But the dialogue never stops. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing, BJ.
Appreciate
Coach
you, man.
K, we're going to go ahead and let you wrap us up. But before we do that, everybody out there listening, thank you so much for carrying us, helping us get to this 150th episode. And if you want to continue to listen, you can follow us at 13th Floor Please on all your social media platforms, Facebook, IG, and get this episode on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Vimeo, and the YouTubes. I really wish I could do that, man. Like, I really wish I could do that.
You can't do that?
No, I cannot.
Oh, man.
I'm almost like Carol with it, only like worse. Like, I mean, it ain't. I'm
That's
listen,
okay.
I'm
We all got
challenged.
what you can't
I'll
do.
leave it at that. Coach K, 150, man. It's in the books. Go ahead and put a bow on that thing.
150. And Fresh, I just thought about it, man. We keep talking about a mixtape. We can probably get my closings for every single podcast. There's probably 130 of them out there at least that we could put out. That's one. Two, we're in coronavirus. A lot of people are quarantined. This is almost like the halftime show. So the same way we have benchmarks for this podcast where we decide what do we want to keep, what needs to go, what do we want to change, what do we want to accomplish. That's the moment where you are right now in your life with COVID-19. That's the moment where the world is in. And it's not the first time that we've had this benchmark moment, that we've had this moment where we could choose to pivot. We had the same thing when 9/11 happened, and everybody was content with life just getting back to normal. We look at these events and we say, we wish life could just be back to normal. And Fresh kind of hit on it and said, well, what's the new normal? We had the same thing happen in 2008 when the economy crashed. And everybody just wanted life to get back to normal. And some people, for the most part, everybody went back to the regular normal that they had. So now we're here at another benchmark moment, and you have the opportunity to decide what you're going to change. What things have you discovered during quarantine that you want to keep? What things need to go? Some of you have found a balance between, well, it's not really a balance, but well, yes, you have. If you've had to work from home, you've had to find a balance, a work-life balance in your house every day. Is there something that you can take from that work-life balance that's going to benefit you moving forward? Is there some type of relationship that you've established with your children, with your spouse, with whomever, that you know that when we open back up to be normal again, that you won't want to let that go? I challenge you to make a list. List of things that they don't particularly serve you anymore. What things do you want to do more of, and what things do you just need to get rid of? What things are non-negotiables going back into a regular time where we're not quarantined? And how can you make a regular time an exceptional time, a great time, an awesome time? How can you do that for yourself? How can you do that for your family? How can you do that for your future family members aren't even here yet? How do you leverage this moment right now to make a change, to make a pivot, and come out of this not only with a stronger immune system, but a stronger life system?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 150 in the books. Thank you all for listening here with us on the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing.
Always the best, but the views, they are amazing.
Bro, man.
Oh,